7:32 p.m., September 10th. Picture this. A single scary shot rings out, heard across a full auditorium on a Utah campus. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, an outspoken conservative, a man with millions of followers, suddenly falls to the stage. It's chaos. By morning, the police have arrested someone. 22-year-old Tyler Robinson, a kid no crime follower had ever heard of. No big conspiracy, no secret group, no hidden plan, just one angry college student, and police tell us an idea that turned deadly. Look, I'm not here to take a political side. What I am here to do is show you all the proven evidence the state has shared with the public so far. We're going to really get to know Robinson, follow his tracks online, and show you exactly how the lawyers for the state plan to prove that a certain set of beliefs, left-leaning, more and more extreme, and found all over the internet, was the clear reason for the murder. If you stick with me, you'll hear about the piece of code on his laptop that police call the smoking gun, and we'll see if that name is right. Is it really strong evidence? Are you ready? Let's get started. Kirk was finishing up an event on his tour at Utah Valley University. Hundreds of phones were held high, recording everything. It was an outdoor event, the first stop of the season for his American comeback tour. People who saw it describe a person in a hood, moving quietly down an aisle, lifting a stolen Glock 19 handgun and shooting one time. The bullet, a single deadly projectile, cut an important artery in Kirk's neck. Medics who got there later said in court that even with help right away, he could not be saved. It was a shocking and violent scene, and videos of the shooting quickly spread online. Gun experts carefully matched the bullet found at the scene to a pistol found thrown away in a trash can on campus. The serial number was carefully removed, but crime scene teams found enough of the number to trace it to an illegal gun sale made 2 counties away. And this next part is scary. Inside the gun's barrel was a small, rolled-up sticker. It said, "Antifa doesn't argue, it acts." That small piece of paper is now a key piece of evidence in the state's try to add hate crime charges. But wait, there's more. Later, police found the real weapon used was a Mauser Model 98 rifle with a scope, fired from a roof 142 yards away. The Glock 19 must have been a fake-out or a second piece of evidence. The rifle was found later in the woods, wrapped in a towel, which we will talk more about. So, who is this Tyler Robinson? He grew up in a suburb of Phoenix, the middle child of an insurance worker and a part-time librarian. Childhood friends described him as a quiet kid, one who spent his afternoons carefully building detailed Lego cities, and later, surprisingly, was captain of the robotics team. He had no police record as a kid, not even a fight at school. He was smart, even scoring in the top 1% on a college test.
Congratulations, you have been selected to receive the Resident Presidential Scholarship from Utah State University.
And went to Utah State University for a short time before leaving after 1 semester. Teachers from his last year of high school, however, saw him in 2 different ways. Some remembered him as polite, never caused trouble, a perfect student. Others recalled a tension when politics was discussed, a hidden but clear tension under his calm look. He went off to college in Utah. He studied computer science, had good grades, and was on the dean's list 2 times. Professors noted he was good at passing ethics classes, which seems strange now. But they also remembered his more and more angry fights with his conservative roommate, often over something as simple as memes about healthcare. That roommate, in what was maybe a smart choice, eventually moved out, leaving Robinson in a dorm room by himself. And it was there, according to what the police found when they searched his room, that he started spending late nights on extreme online forums. Governor Spencer Cox later described Robinson as coming from a conservative family, but having beliefs that were very different than his family, adding that he had been deeply taught leftist ideas. This big difference between how he was raised and what he came to believe is a key part of the story. Interestingly, Robinson was a registered voter, but not a member of any political party, and had never been in trouble with the law before. The state's case is mostly built on Robinson's online life. They have made a whole presentation from his computer's hard drive, showing a dark story of him becoming more extreme. Let's follow some of those online tracks. January 2023. He tweets, "Charlie Kirk's voice is a siren for fascist recruitment. Someone should unplug it." Was he serious or just talking tough online? February 2023. He joins a group on Discord with a scary name, Utah Antifa Study Group. It had about 120 members, and most of them just shared online magazines and memes. But police focused on one message that was deleted, but they got it back, where Robinson posts a simple, hand-drawn map of the exits of UVU's auditorium. Was he planning something? Or was it just a dark thought? March 2023. He sent himself a link in a direct message. It wasn't to a cute cat video, but to a part you can make with a 3D printer that illegally makes a gun fully automatic. He wasn't just curious, he was really looking into how to change a gun. April 2023. He buys a factory Glock slide. The important part? No background check was needed for that part. The state's lawyers argue this is clear proof that he planned this. The defense lawyers, of course, will argue back that many people work on these guns as a hobby, and this isn't naturally suspicious. But the jury will have to decide if this was a safe hobby or a planned step toward murder. Looking more into his online life showed even more worrying things. His roommate, who was helping the police, showed them Discord messages from Robinson talking about a need to get a rifle from a spot, leaving the rifle in a bush wrapped in a towel, and messages about writing on bullets and a special rifle with a scope. He even talked about changing his clothes after the shooting. These messages gave a scary plan of what he did and matched the physical evidence that was found. The FBI also confirmed DNA from a screwdriver at the crime scene, and the towel around the rifle matched Robinson. Here's the detail that got everyone's attention and made the state's story about violence for political reasons seem true. Police found 2 ammo clips, carefully wrapped in duct tape. Written on them with a marker were words like, "No kings, no masters," "ACAB, all cops are bastards," and the scary words, "Death to the rich man's spokesman CK." Lab workers knew these words were important and took pictures of everything before they unwrapped it. The lawyers for the state will really focus on this. They claim the handwriting perfectly matches how Robinson wrote on his school tests. They also tested the chemicals in the duct tape, and guess what? It's the same cheap Target brand tape found in his dorm room. It's a small thing, but these things are often very important in court. The defense lawyers haven't argued against the match yet. They are arguing something else instead, that having edgy sayings, even if they are angry, isn't the same as murder. But with the sayings directly mentioning CK, Charlie Kirk, and the anti-fascist ideas, the state will surely argue it's a direct link to his reason for doing it. Other things written on the bullet shells included, "Hey fascist, catch," and a mention of "Oh, Bella Ciao," an Italian song of protest against fascists. These aren't just sayings, they are a statement of his beliefs written on bullets. Robinson was caught within 8 hours of the shooting. He was caught quickly because of all the cameras on campus and a license plate reader that saw his car going north on I-15. But from the moment he was caught, he went quiet. He didn't give up any of his rights or say anything. He just stared, asked for a lawyer, and has said no to every interview since then. His silence has caused a lot of talk and guessing online. Is he sorry? Is it a smart plan to waste time? Or just really good advice from his lawyer? Remember, Utah still has the death penalty for this kind of murder, so things couldn't be more serious. People inside the jail say he spends his free time outside drawing complex shapes, totally ignoring other prisoners yelling questions at him about shooting the Trump kid. Not cooperating is both good and bad for his lawyers. It keeps him from saying something that makes him look guilty, but it also leaves a blank space that the state's lawyers will be happy to fill with their own story of a cold, planned crime. What happened has been terrible for Robinson's family. His parents, Matt Robinson and his wife, gave a written apology that was sad because it was so simple. "We are sad for the Kirk family. We did not see our son's pain." His mother, trying hard to explain things, gave his childhood diaries to the police, hoping they would show he was depressed, not that he had extreme beliefs. The state's lawyers looked through them for political ideas, didn't find any, and gave them back. But it was too late. People online, who love drama, started a false rumor that the family must be hiding something. This quickly turned into people sharing their private information, their home address, phone numbers, everything was put online. The Robinsons, who are strong Republicans and voted in the 2024 election, are now dealing with a son whose very different leftist ideas led to this terrible event. They were the ones who turned him in after he supposedly confessed. This case didn't happen by itself. It's part of a scary increase in threats against politicians and people who speak at colleges across the country. The New America Foundation, a group that doesn't take sides, says there have been at least 40 deaths connected to political violence in the U.S. since 2010. They say a fourth of those were caused by people on the far left, and the rest were caused by different militia, jihadist, and far-right groups. It's a serious number. Experts disagree on what this means. Some worry that big, successful attacks like the one on Kirk will only encourage others to do the same, creating a dangerous cycle of more and more violence. Others argue that the huge amount of news coverage, while needed for people to talk about it, also accidentally makes people afraid to speak freely, making speakers and event planners nervous about talking about difficult subjects. Kirk's death has caused real changes right away. 4 states have made new rules for metal detectors at university events. And Congress? They are thinking about a government program to give money to improve security on campuses, connected to the idea of being fair to all viewpoints, a clear try to protect different opinions, even the ones that cause big arguments. The event has brought back big discussions about political violence in the US and caused many famous people around the world to speak out against it. Even President Trump and Governor Cox called for the death penalty for the killer before police even knew it was Robinson. Robinson's public defenders have made their first big move, asking to move the trial to a different city. Their argument? So much news coverage, especially in Salt Lake City, makes it almost impossible to find a fair jury. This is often done in big cases, but it's hard to get it approved in Utah. They are supposedly thinking about an argument that he was extremely emotionally upset. This would argue that the online groups he was in made him so extreme, so fast, that he wasn't legally able to think clearly, meaning he wasn't fully able to plan a crime. But experts say this is unlikely to work in Utah, a state that is known for not accepting mental health reasons to reduce charges for first-degree murder. Watch for them to legally order people from Discord and professors who are experts in how extreme groups find new members to come to court. Their goal is to show Robinson not as a heartless killer, but as a young man taken over by strong, tricky online groups. If they can make just one juror believe that he was mentally unwell, he might get life in prison instead of the death penalty. In Utah, aggravated murder is the only crime that can get the death penalty, and it needs a 2-part trial. The defense will try any way to avoid that second part of the trial, where the death penalty is decided. The state's timeline for the case is very clear and carefully built, becoming extreme, getting a weapon, planning, and killing. They will tell a story of a cold, planned murder. You can expect to see many witnesses. First, his classmates, who will say in court they heard Robinson call Kirk a stochastic kingpin, a phrase that means he thought Kirk caused violence without meaning to. Then, computer evidence experts will testify, linking the printer that made the sticker right to Robinson's internet address. And finally, trauma surgeons will give very sad testimony, explaining with clear medical facts that Kirk had no chance to live after he was shot. The state's lawyers want a quick, powerful 2-week case, ending with a sad statement from Kirk's mother about how this affected her. They will describe the killing as an act of terrorism in our own country, hoping the hate crime charge will give the defense fewer options, making it harder to argue that the crime wasn't that serious. The charges are already set: aggravated murder, shooting a gun and causing serious injury, and trying to stop the police investigation. They will stress that his planning and his reason for the crime make this worse than a simple murder, which means he could get the death penalty. Let's talk about what could happen. Option A. He is found guilty of everything, which leads to the part of the trial where the death penalty is decided. If the whole jury agrees, and in Utah, all 12 have to agree for the death penalty, Robinson could be sentenced to death by lethal injection. This is the worst possible result for him, and one that the governor and President Trump have said they want. Option B. Guilty, but one juror, may be convinced by the defense's arguments about his mental state or being influenced online, says no to the death penalty. In this case, he would get life in prison with no chance of getting out. This is still a very serious sentence, but it's not death. Option C. A last-minute deal with the lawyers. Robinson admits to first-degree murder, so he doesn't face the death penalty and gets a sentence of life in prison plus many more years, maybe with a chance to get out a long, long time from now. Because of what's been happening in Utah lately, only 2 people have been executed since 2010, and prisoners on death row wait for an average of 34 years. People who bet on these things think he will get life in prison. However, the Kirk family has said in public that they support the death penalty. That feeling of what is right and that deep sadness can definitely influence jurors who might not normally believe in the death penalty. It's a difficult decision for any jury to make. Even with all the evidence, some questions are still left. Did Robinson really act alone, or did someone in that Utah Antifa study group on Discord push him toward violence? The police's computer team searched 400,000 messages for keywords, and so far, they haven't found anyone else involved. Yet. But how people in online groups influence others is still not very clear. And why Kirk? Someone who, to be honest, gets a lot of attention from arguments, instead of, for example, a politician in office. Police guess that Robinson saw Kirk as a first step that leads people to far-right ideas, making the activist an easier, more symbolic person to attack, and maybe, in Robinson's messed-up way of thinking, a more meaningful target. Finally, there's the scary question about his skill. How did a kid who seems to have no gun training, the robotics team captain, remember, make such a perfect, deadly shot to the neck from 142 yards away? Gun experts will tell you it could be pure luck from only 10 feet away, but the evidence shows he used a rifle with a scope from a roof. Others whisper that he practiced a lot on private property, but police haven't found where. Finding a Mauser Model 98 rifle, a common hunting rifle with a scope, suggests some planning and that he may have known about guns before, maybe from his father, who hunted. It's a detail that makes this already scary crime seem even more planned out and unsettling. So, who killed Charlie Kirk? Legally, the state says Tyler Robinson did it. They say his reasons were a bad mix of political hate, the exciting feeling of getting attention online, and the worst parts of internet culture. If the evidence is strong enough, his choice to stay quiet won't save him from spending many years, or even the rest of his life, in prison. But the trial is still months away. The lawyers are still gathering information, and as people who follow these cases know, unexpected things can happen in court. Don't believe everything you hear, stay curious, and check the original sources instead of just listening to strong opinions on Twitter. Drop what you think will happen below: the death penalty, life in prison, or a shocking deal. Hit the like button if you learned something new. Share this with a friend who always says both sides are just as violent, and I'll see you in the next video.